Hey everyone, this is my narration and webcam review of the Midway produced Mortal Kombat comics. This is my first in a series of Mortal Kombat reviews. Going to start off with the Midway produced Mortal Kombat comics. Then I'm going to get to the Elseworld reimagining of the Mortal Kombat, the Malibu comics. Then I'm going to read the then I'm going to review the um, Battle Wave comics, the sequel to the follow up to the Malibu comics. Then, of course, the Mortal Kombat X comics, which acts as a prologue to the Mortal Kombat X game and bridges the gap between Mortal Kombat 2011 and Mortal Kombat X. I've been searching for these comics for a long time. Now, finally, thanks to a guy named Mortal Kombat Comics, I finally got the chance to read these comics. I've read about these comics for a long time. I remember in the Mortal Kombat booklets that came with your video game and the website Mortal Kombat Wiki. I remember always reading about the story, the backstories of Mortal Kombat, what happens in the games, but never actually seeing this stuff in the game. Well, that's because some of the stuff wasn't in the game. Some of the stuff wasn't in the game. The comics talk about they were in the comics. The comics talk about what happened before Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 4. I left out Deception and Mortal Kombat versus DC because I didn't like Deception's comic. Deception's comic was just a comic prologue talking about deception and giving the reasons the characters are fighting, giving the reason the characters are fighting, and Mortal Kombat versus DC pretty much did the same thing, just explain more about the merger of Shao Kahn and Dark Khan and the merger of the Mortal Kombat and DC realms, and those two video games really didn't need much. Those two video games, in my opinion, Deception and Mortal Kombat versus DC, really didn't need comics. Really didn't need comics. So I'm gonna leave those two. I'm gonna leave those two out in the webcam portion. I'm gonna talk more about these comics. These are comics, Mortal Kombat comics 1, 2, and 4. All right. Get ready for the webcam portion coming next. Hey everybody. Hey everybody. Back for another video. Of course, this is the webcam portion of my Mortal Kombat Midway produced comic books review. I'm gonna start off with the first Mortal Kombat comic. Of course, this is the first Mortal Kombat comic released in 1992. The only way you could have obtained it was, of course, through mail order. Through mail order. This comic, of course, talks about what happens before the very first Mortal Kombat tournament, and the comic book intro opens with a brief backstory on Shang Tsung and and um and his henchman Goro, how Shang Tsung, how it also gives you some backstory on the history of the Mortal Kombat tournament. It first tells you the Mortal Kombat tournament was a tournament of all that was about guts and honor, was about honor and glory. But ever since Shang Tsung started competing, ever since Shang Tsung started competing, it's become a deadly game for survival because the tournament revealed two things about Shang Tsung. One, the elder gods cursed him by making him rapidly age. So in order to prevent himself, to sustain himself, he has to consume souls. And in this tournament, this is where he revealed his dark power of consuming other members' souls. So pretty much turning Mortal Kombat into a blood sport, into a a ruthless game. So so this right here is this right here. So it opens with an intro of how Outworld has won 9 Mortal Kombat victories, has won 9 Mortal Kombats in a row, and that this will be the 10th tournament. It also the next panel shows Goro defeating the great Kung Lao, Liu Kang's, and the current Kung Lao's um ancestor, and then of course Mortal Kombat. So yeah, that's us. Then of course it goes to then it cuts to present day. Liu Kang is being chosen by the Order of Light to represent their people in the Mortal Kombat tournament, where Liu Kang promises to not only vanquish evil but to bring the Mortal Kombat tournaments back into the hands of the Order of Light, who Liu Kang's people are the people who created the concept of Mortal Kombat. And then of course cut to um you cut to then of course you cut to Raiden. You cut to Raiden the sky. You see Shang Tsung traveling to Raiden's temple, traveling to Raiden's temple, and you see Raiden in the sky. And this right here was probably the best scene of the comic, one of the best scenes of the comic right here. The dialogue exchange between Shang Tsung and Raiden was awesome. Shang Tsung says, Raiden, I have traveled your lands. I've spoken your language. I challenge you to Mortal Kombat. And Raiden responds, Shang Tsung, I have seen your practices. You are nothing but a peasant sorcerer. I accept your invitation to Mortal Kombat, but be so warned. Anyone who opposes me shall be crushed. Raiden was scary in that scene, kind of like Dark Raiden in Mortal Kombat Deception and Armageddon. But yeah, that right there was an awesome that was one of the more awesome scenes. Then of course we cut to Johnny Cage, who is filming a movie and has just received his invitation to compete in Mortal Kombat, and he goes to Mortal Kombat. He goes to the tournament with the intention of proving A, that he is for real, and B, to make a movie based on his experience at the Mortal Kombat tournament, much to the dismay of his agents, who try to warn him not to compete because he could get injured. He could get injured. Johnny Cage insists on doing it anyway. Then of course you see Sonya on the trail of the on the trail of Kano and his Black Dragon thugs. You see Kano and the other Black Dragon and some of the other Black Dragon thugs, where Kano plans to rip out Shang Tsung's heart and steal the treasures there. And he told the dragons he wants, after the tournament is over, he wants the dragons there so they can loot and steal everything there. And that's Mortal. And then of course on the ship on the ship Kano and his thugs attack Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage is saved by Liu Kang, who distracts him long enough to take out Kano with his shadow kick. To take out Kano, to take out Kano with his shadow kick. Then of course you see Scorpion and Sub Zero. Where Scorpion threatens to kill Sub Zero for killing in retaliation for killing him and his clan, killing his clan, but says that he has honor and will not kill him in this contest. He will work together. Then after the tournament is over, he will kill Sub Zero. Sub Zero tells Scorpion he's a fool for saving his life. Scorpion says, "We shall see." We shall see. And of course, the tournament is about to start. And the comic ends there. Once again, like I said, awesome comic. The artwork reminds me of 1990s X-Men comics and and various DC comics. The not a lot of action, but the video game has even more action. So I'm not really too mad about that. The only thing I probably don't like about this comic is that, well, I wish they would have adapted the game too. Adapted the game too and showed us what happened in between the game. All we know from the game is that Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, Sonya, and even Kano teamed up to fight Goro, and Liu Kang eventually, I think, defeated Shang Tsung by himself. And Scorpion killed Sub Zero. That's all you know about the Mortal Kombat tournaments. Because the game focuses more on gameplay, it's unclear who fought who in the tournament. So I wish they would have adapted the actual comic book part two, not just what happened before the comic. But like I said, awesome comic. And let's move on to Mortal Kombat 2, which this was really good. When it comes to Mortal Kombat 2, I love Mortal Kombat 2, but nowadays I'm kind of just more disappointed by Mortal Kombat 2, because Mortal Kombat 2, other than graphics, stages, and adding more characters and continuing the story from one, they really didn't add many adjustments to the first Mortal Kombat game, but Mortal Kombat 2 was an awesome game, and the comics, the opening prologue when you play Mortal Kombat 2, and the endings and the boss battles with Kintaro and Shang Tsung and the various endings were my favorite parts of Mortal Kombat 2. So I'm finally happy I got to read this comic. I'm finally happy I got to read this comic. The comic picks up where starts off um with Shang Tsung's island about to self-destruct and Raiden carrying Johnny Cage in the sky, leaving the island. Johnny Cage asks Raiden what happened. Raiden tells Johnny Cage that Sub-Zero killed Scorpion, Sonya Blade and Kano were kidnapped by Shang Tsung when he unleashed a horde of Tarkatan warriors on Earthrealm, who I think, yeah, who killed Liu Kang's people, and Liu Kang escaped, and and like I said, Scorpion burst into flames when he killed Sub Zero. An explosion separates An explosion separates Johnny Cage, Johnny Cage and Raiden is found by Jax and another guy named Baron. Johnny Cage tells Johnny Cage tells Jax the same story over 5 times. Baron believes him because he's told the same story 5 times with each detail remained intact. But but Jax doesn't believe him because he would never because Jax doesn't believe him because um for several reasons. One of the main reasons being Sonya would never team up with Kano, but Johnny Cage insists she had no choice. She had no choice. And then of course Jax releases Johnny Cage, but tell him when he finds Sonya, he will find him again, and this time it's gonna get ugly. This time it's gonna get ugly, and Johnny Cage says, "I'm counting on it." And Johnny Cage says, "Now, if you don't mind time me, I got a movie to make. And then of course we see Liu Kang paying his last respects to his master. Here is where Kung Lao shows up. And then in disguise, a helicopter shows up containing Sub-Zero, flown by Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero appears with a disguise, and Liu Kang says, "What do you want, assassin?" And Sub-Zero says, "Only when the job calls for it." Sub-Zero is here to find out about his older brother's death. Yeah, first he tells him that he's not the Sub-Zero from the first tournament, that he is his brother, and that he has come to find more about his brother's death and to continue his brother's mission. His brother was supposed to assassinate Shang Tsung in the first Mortal Kombat. After winning the tournament, was supposed to assassinate Shang Tsung and steal his treasure. He is coming here to finish his brother's mission. Meanwhile, back in Outworld, Gorbak, I think that's his name. I think that's Goro's father or a member of his race. This guy demands the execution of Shang Tsung because the Shoguns always believed that humans were weak and unfocused, as the comics said, and a Pacifian monk should have never defeated Goro, the champion, and only Shang Tsung's death will make up for Goro's apparent death. Um, Shang Tsung begs Shao Kahn for another chance and tells him about the new rules for Mortal Kombat about um about leading the mortals here to compete in a new tournament. This way, they will meet certain death by Shao Kahn himself. Shao Kahn eventually agrees and restores Shang Tsung's body, restores Shang Tsung's body, and gives him a whole new host of minions. Kintaro, yeah, the Shoguns offer up Kintaro, who's come to avenge Goro's apparent death. Baraka, Kitana and Melina, and Katana and Melina, and right there is and right there back in back where back in Hollywood, these four guys, these four guys ambush Johnny Cage, ambush Johnny Cage, and Johnny Cage flies through the same wall where Jax and the Baron are, and here's where Shang Tsung does his signature skull move and destroys Jax's shirt, which is why he is shirtless in Mortal Kombat 2. Destroys Jax's shirt, destroys Jax's shirt. Liu Kang, Liu Kang, and Kung Lao come. Liu Kang and Kung Lao come to even up the score, to even up the score, to even up the score, and then Sub Zero comes to. Then finally, before they can continue fighting, Raiden comes. Raiden comes. Raiden comes down. Raiden comes down. Raiden comes down. Raiden comes down, and he challenge. Raiden comes down and he accepts Shang Tsung's invitation to Mortal Kombat, and the issue and the events surrounding Mortal Kombat 2 continue in the video game of Mortal Kombat 2. Like I said before, another awesome comic, another awesome comic. As always, the artwork is good. Everybody looks like their Mortal Kombat 2 counterparts. Actually, everybody in this comic, in my opinion, looks better here than they do in Mortal Kombat. Looks better here in Mortal Kombat 2, in the Mortal Kombat 2 comic than they do in the video game. They do in the video game. They actually look like their character designs instead of people in costumes, which is what the early Mortal Kombat characters look like. Here they actually look like their comic book counterparts. If you read the little booklets, which I used to buy when I had the consoles on the when I had the video games on the Sega Genesis. Um, so so like I said, the only other problem I have with it is that once again, especially in Mortal Kombat 2, I wish they would have adapted Mortal Kombat. I wish they would have adapted what happened in the game, who fought who, because it's unknown who really fought who, other than that. I guess Scorpion must have fought Sub Zero and then decided to spare his life because he noticed that this Sub Zero was not the same as the original Sub Zero, and I remember him becoming his guardian to atone for killing his older brother, Then of course, Liu Kang defeated both Shang Tsung, Kentaro, and Shao Kahn. Supposedly defeated both of them. And and then continues defeated both of them, and yeah, like I said, not much is real. Like, and of course, I remember Jax ends up accomplish his mission of rescuing Sonya, but Kano flees. Kano escapes and flees. Kano escapes and flees back into Earthrealm. So like I said, I wish it would have. I wish it would have adapted. I wish it would have adapted what actually happened in the game to make the storyline much more clear. Because, like I said, the game focuses more on gameplay than story. And in this period, hardware wasn't where it was, where you can have both story and gameplay at the same time. Like I said, video games like God of War, Devil May Cry, Mortal Kombat versus DC, Mortal Kombat 8, Mortal Kombat 9, Mortal Kombat 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, they perfected storytelling, having storytelling and gameplay at the same time. Now next is Mortal Kombat. And also, I wish they would have Mortal Kombat 3, the next video game in the series. They don't have a comic. I wish they would have had a comic to adapting not only what happens before the what's his name. When they tell you in Mortal Kombat 3, I guess they don't have a comic because Mortal Kombat 3 in the intro actually tells you what the story is. But I wish Mortal Kombat 3 would have had a comic telling us what happened in the events of that game, and would have led right into Mortal Kombat 4, which right now Mortal Kombat 4 is the next comic I'm going to talk about. Mortal Kombat 4. It was really good reading this comic. I didn't know Mortal Kombat 4 had a comic. I knew Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 had one, but I didn't know there was even a comic book for Mortal Kombat 4. There are two comics for Mortal Kombat 4. There is the one produced by Midway and another one with with cartoonish looking drawing. I didn't care much for the one with cartoonish looking drawing. I'm going to talk about the first one, Mortal Kombat 4. The Midway produced Mortal Kombat 4, and Mortal Kombat. And the plot of this comic is that Tanya, Adenian, Adenian warrior Tanya leads a mysterious man later revealed to be Shinnok, into the realm of Adenia. Oh yeah, the comic starts off with Reptile being tried by Sindel, who is now back as the Queen of Edenia, for committing crimes in the name of Shao Kahn. In, in the name of Shao Kahn. Tanya, the Edenian warrior Tanya leads a mysterious man with an orb into the Edenian palace, claiming that her village was attacked. That her village was attacked by a guy named Shao Kahn, a guy named Shao Kahn, that her village Trekkie, something like that, was attacked by a guy named Shao Kahn. Sindel scoffs and says she's never heard of a village named Trekkie. Um, Tanya responds by saying they are a quiet village. They're a small and quiet village. And Sindel also scoffs at the fact that she's never heard of Shao Kahn. A mysterious man comes in with an orb. Sindel gets drawn to the orb's power. Sindel gets drawn to her power, and here I think Tanya reveals herself as a traitor Dina, as she's just led Shinnok and the forces of the Nether Realm, the demons, into the realm of Edenia. And back in another panel, talking with Kitana is trying to calm down the centaurs and the Shokans, who are now at war with each other after the apparent death and disappearance of Shao Kahn. Shao Kahn, the the warriors are fighting, and Kano reveals that he is still alive and comes out of nowhere and agrees, I think, agrees to a treaty between the Shokans and the Centaurs. Meanwhile, back in Earthrealm, Liu Kang is training new warrior Kai in the ways of the Order of Light, in the ways of the Shaolin, and then Fujin falls from the sky, and it's later revealed that Fujin was battling one of the Netherrealm demons, the Netherrealm demons. Meanwhile, Sonya is fighting Jarek, who is the last of the Black Dragon after the disappearance of Kano. Is the last of the Black Dragon. Jarek narrowly escapes, and Sonya ends up running into Johnny Cage. And who else? Who else is in? Oh yes, and Sub Zero dons his brother's costume again as a tribute to him, to assist in the battle with oh yeah, he dons his costume. He's come to the place to settle things with the gods. Sub Zero fought in Sub Zero, and then he hears a distress signal. I think from Raiden, and he and and he joins the Earthrealm Warriors. He joins the Earthrealm Warriors in a battle in a battle in Edenia, to free Edenia from Shinnok and Quan Chi's rule. Sonya does this by opening a portal to Ade- opening a portal to Edenia. Like I said, another awesome comic, and one thing I love about this comic is that this comic um explain more about the backstory of Mortal Kombat 4, because it tells you, as much as I've always loved the backstory of Mortal Kombat 4, never really understood much of it. as one thing I got confused was in the comic, it was Shinnok. He attacked Aditya, which explains Liu Kang's ending in Mortal Kombat 4, with Kitana thanking him for saving Aditya and offers him a place at the throne, but Liu Kang returns it down because he is champion of Mortal. He has to be made as champion of Mortal Kombat in Earthrealm. But this right here, I thought Shinnok and Quan Chi invaded Earthrealm. I didn't know they invaded Aditya. I didn't know they invaded Aditya, and of course, it is also revealed here that Shinnok, he only invaded Aditya. He only conquered Aditya so he could get close enough to confront the Elder Gods for sending him to the Nether Realm in the first place. Like I said, another awesome comic. The artwork is good. It looks like it's an updated version. It's an updated version. It's an updated version of the Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 comics. Everyone looks like their comic book video game counterparts. Especially now because the video game is now in 3D. And the only thing I would have liked is while Mortal Kombat 4 story, even though I understand it, was much more clear than the last one. I wish they would have adapted more and would have connected all the endings you saw in Mortal Kombat 4 into one story. Because once again, it's still unknown who fought who. It's the only thing that's known is that Liu Kang apparently defeated Shinnok. Scorpion defeated Sub-Zero. And found out about how it was Quan Chi who murdered his clan, and Scorpion. And right when Quan Chi is about to send Scorpion back to the Nether Realm, he runs towards Quan Chi, and both of them end up in the Nether Realm, where Scorpion tortures and chases Quan Chi, and yeah, that's all that's really known, and of course, that's all that's really known about Mortal Kombat 4. So we should have adapted what actually happened in the game too, and would have bridged the gap between what happened in here, and would have successfully closed this part of the story. And of course, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance continues from Mortal Kombat 4, but also starts anew with the whole Deadly Alliance angle. And like I said, I didn't read I didn't include Deception and DC in this review because I thought those comics were lame, and those video games didn't need comics because they had story modes. You had the crappy conquest mode in Deception, and you had the cool story mode where you got to play as both the DC and Mortal Kombat characters in Mortal Kombat vs. DC. So I didn't really care for their comics, and their comics were just a prologue. Explaining why the characters are fighting and more about the merger of the DC and Mortal Kombat realms. So yeah, those weren't good. Like I said, this was the canon produced Mortal Kombat. Next, I'm gonna do the Malibu and Battle Wave comics. Then I'm gonna finish the Mortal Kombat X comics and review those. All right, I'm out.